You cannot have your squeaky toy.
That is a chicken toy.
All right. Oh, squeaking toy. Yeah, dog. Oh yeah. Oh, we got 7 people in. We've got Jason Hodkins. Was first one in here. Howdy, sir. Avid fisherman, 351 Cleveland. We got Uncle Lou, Lee Reed, and Fins and Fines. Welcome,
Okay.
gentlemen.
Welcome, guys.
We're gonna have a awesome show today. As you all can see, we have the legend, Mr. Dieter Melhorn.
How you guys doing? Thanks for joining us.
There's Becca, Mud Tramp, and then Central Valley coming in. So we were talking right before we got on live. We were talking about some of the heated conversations that we got into on Catfish America, and about some strawberry Jello chicken.
Tell me what was
Um,
said because I have been at Catapalooza all weekend and have not been following anything. So tell
let's
me what was
see.
said. I got to hear this. I got to hear this. This ought to be good.
And there were some pictures too, so it was
Okay.
interesting.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So let me see.
I'm gonna get some feedback. I know that it has grated the nerves of some purists out there. They have.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they've taken offense to it. Like you're supposed to, like, do everything totally 100% like natural. You're supposed to go out and kill a deer and take the sinew from its muscles and form a fishing line, and
Oh
then
yeah,
stamp out a hook out of, carve it out of bone or something, and then
yeah.
cut you down a bamboo tree. And I don't know. It's kind of fun and interesting to listen to them. I'm glad I'm living rent free in their head. That's kind of funny.
Oh, absolutely. So this is how it goes. I said, if you think chicken is not bait for catfish, then you need to come and join us and listen to someone that uses it all the time and catches big fish with it. So that's how I started it.
Awesome,
So
awesome.
I knew that would get somebody's attention.
And it went
So,
it went downhill from there. I bet.
oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Then we got into talking about black cherry Kool-Aid chicken.
yeah, 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 yeah. There's all kinds of combos of different
I
stuff
use
like that.
copper pennies in it.
I hadn't heard that one. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard
Yeah,
that.
the copper would. He says the copper it brings the almost like a blood flavor to it because
Interesting.
blood has a copper taste into it.
So here's my question. Here's my question on blood. And here's my question on anything to do with blood. When does a catfish ever encounter blood in its natural feeding cycle?
Never.
Bingo. Bingo. It's one of the arguments I've made against this chicken thing is that I think the blood thing, we try to associate it with sharks or something like that. Um, and,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's really not a natural thing for a catfish to encounter. They encounter grass, which has little bitty mollusks that attach to it. They
Yeah.
encounter fish. That's the biggest thing. They encounter mussels, and you know,
Yeah.
the attraction, all of that stuff is most likely something to do with amino acids. It's probably what is kind of the reason they eat the stuff, and I think that's what it is for chicken. I think it's very, very fundamental that has nothing to do with Jello whatsoever. Has nothing to do with the flavor. It has nothing to do with the sugar. I think it has to do all with the amino acids that's in the chicken. And I got a video. It'll be coming out in a week or so where I was fishing with just plain
Yeah.
chicken the other day. It had the same catch rate as the Jello chicken. So the funny thing is, I've only been using this for less than a year. I started using it in late August last year as a joke, um, because
I hate to cut you off there, but your sound's breaking up.
I wonder what happened. Maybe.
Yeah, they're having trouble hearing you.
Interesting. Wonder if there's something lagging on the end. Is that any better?
Mm-mm. I think we're running into the problem we had a minute ago. I think.
Lovely StreamYard. Must be a connection deal. Because you sound crystal clear on your end. Any difference there? Anything any better?
A little bit better there, yeah.
Little bit. I just made sure everything was closed out and everything's up looking. Connection looks great. So
Yeah.
let me know if you can hear me now. Is that better?
A little bit better than what we were having. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is on it. But yeah, it catches. I've only used it for a little less than a year. It was a joke to start out with because I too thought it's not going to catch fish like cut bait, and it did the first trip. Second trip, I thought, well, it'll get its butt kicked this time. It performed even better on that trip. Then I switched it around to some shad, fishing it side by side. It still caught more fish. So there's something to it. It works. You catch bigger fish with it. The weight has been the same. I tracked that too. Now let me just say this. I fish these baits equally. I fish 6 rods. We can fish 6 rods in North Carolina. It's 3 apiece. 3 pieces of cut bait, 3 pieces of chicken. I vary the cut bait. I try shad, I try perch, I try bluegill. And so that's where I'm getting the comparison. It's not just one trip and whether it worked or not on one trip. The weight has been basically the average weight. I tried that for about 2 months tracking fish. And I fish a lot. I mean, I'm fishing now probably 150 days a year. I'm not like super crazy, but I fish more than the average angler. So I've got a good basis to base all this stuff on. And the size, average weight has been virtually the same. And the catch rate has been slightly better for chicken. It's about 71% the last time I added up all the numbers. So it works. Would I use it in a tournament? I don't. It depends the time of the year and what's working bite wise, because I have consistently had trips where the biggest fish have come on it. If I was just targeting big fish, probably not. If all I wanted to do was go home a 0 or catch 1 big fish, I'd probably chunk out some big, huge bait and go that route. But this all brings me to the point of the people who watch my channel are not tournament fishermen. Okay. They are not trophy fishermen. They are people that are learning how to catch fish. And that's why I do it. Trophy and tournament guys don't watch what I put out. They're a small little percentage of the people that fish for catfish out there, probably less than 1%. Most people just want to catch fish, and they want to go fishing when they want to go fishing, and that's a quick, easy bait that you can use, and it'll put some fish in the boat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, they were saying it was bogus and that.
I ran over 100 guide trips last year. I probably run 50 or 60 this year, and I should get video testimonials from everybody on the boat because I have used it side by side, and the people have been amazed by it. And there's enough people out there using. And listen, I wasn't the first person to come up with this. This is nothing new. There are tons of other people that did it before me. I got the idea from somebody else. So, it's out there for a reason. It may not be the best, but it works.
Yeah. We got 18 wonderful people in here. We got Mo Creek. We've got Miss Paula Smith is in the house.
Paula Smith, what's up, sister?
Yep. Roger from Muskrat is in here.
Okay, there we go. I see some names over there.
We're starting to add some on in here.
Cool. Yeah, I put a notification up on my community section about it and on my Facebook page. So hopefully we get a few people from my channel over there coming to say howdy.
Yeah, I think that first one that Jason came in, he was from you.
Okay.
Because he's never been in here mine before, so he said he came from your page.
Very good.
He never heard of me, so hey, I told him, hey, make sure you go back and watch some other episodes because we got some good content. out there.
That's the great thing I love about doing these live feeds with people that have smaller channels or starting out channels or channels outside of the niche that I'm in, is that it exposes people from my little world to somebody else's
Yeah.
world, and exposes silly old me to people from another world. So it's cool when it's fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, make sure I put it out there in the comments. Make sure you have your questions ready because I know a lot of you are going to have some good questions. So this is going to be your chance to ask Mr. Dieter exactly
Fire
what you
away,
want to.
baby.
Yeah, yeah, some good questions. But
Good.
let's let's get into some tackle talking.
All right.
But hold on just a moment for a second.
He's disappeared. He's back.
Yeah, mangy dog. but but let's get into some tackle. I always like to start out at the bottom of
Mm-hmm.
all lines.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of hook? What size hook, or what's the brand of hook that you like using the most?
Ah. Let's just pull something out here. I wasn't planning to do this, but I saw it in the background. We will work our way down. We'll start at the business end. This is a drift rig, and I've got. I don't even know if it'll focus on that. We'll see. That is a circle, but give me something dark to put it behind. It is. That one's a 6/0. It is a hooker's terminal tackle. I think they call them is it a backstabber? I can't think. They got two different ones. I think it's called a backstabber. Very similar to a Gamakatsu circle hook, and the Gamakatsu octopus circle hook. And it is snailed onto the line. It does have the bent eye that I like. There's a better place to show that. I won't focus that close. Yeah. But I use a different snail. I don't use the easy snail. I don't know. Oh, I use a uni knot snail. That's technically what I am tying. And that enables me to, unlike a lot of snails, where you wrap your line and go back through the eye and then have to tie on to your swivel or whatever you've got on this end. This one, I can cut this hook off, snell it, and tie it right back onto the end and not have to worry about tying something. So if I need to swap out a hook, some of my leader line's frayed, or I want to put a new float on it, which that one's beat all to crap, but I think there's a reason that one gets hit. I'll tell you about that later. That's why I use that type snail, the uni knot snail.
Roger had a good point there. Check your teeth marks for offsets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Here's a good question for you. Miss Paula Smith has a really good question for you.
Peter, do you think the next U.S. record will come from? You know why she's asking that question? I taped a podcast with her this past week at Catapalooza, and I shot some stuff with her, and I asked her that exact same question. She's stealing my questions that I ask her. So, I'm going to tell you. Where do I think it'll come from in all seriousness? Hey, Paula, by the way, love you. Glad you're out here. I think it's going to come from Kerr Lake, without a doubt. I think, the world record is from Kerr Lake. The largest catfish ever caught in a fishing tournament is from Kerr Lake. Only 1 or 2 pounds shy of that record. And there's been another one that was 138 pounds caught out of that lake. It's a massive reservoir. Biggest thing is no current. And I think that's where it has an advantage over a place like the Mississippi, the James River. And I think I think part of it is so far downstream, I think there are some nutrient advantages. And I think there's a genetic advantage there. Wheeler has some great big blues, but for some reason we haven't seen a lot of those in that 120 something, 130ish range, and I don't know why. The only thing I can think is that it's a little further upriver. doesn't have the nutrients that the shad and everything get. Maybe there's a disadvantage there with genetics to where those fish aren't getting that big. Maybe it's because there is more current coming through there. I think current plays a part because fish don't have to burn calories and energy fighting current. That's why I don't think you'll ever see a record come out of the James River. But that's my theory, But with that said, I've got a video on my channel about the largest blue catfish ever caught that I think would be a world record without a question. It was never weighed, caught by guy. It's totally legitimate. It's not fake. It's not Photoshop. He's got multiple pictures of it, and we did a little forensic analysis on that fish. Came out of the Mississippi River, and based on some measurements we were able to get and extrapolate that out against what we could see of the fish, the low end on that fish was 160 pounds. And it may have been Paul or somebody this week and asked me what was the upper end, and I was like, we hesitate to say what the upper end is because people don't believe it. But we were getting numbers like 200, 215 pounds. So that was in the Mississippi. So there you go. But Kerr Lake, final answer. Listen, I'm not real good with like one word answers, so just FYI. So.
Hey, that's fine with me. Fine with me. Oh, and nice mug.
So, you broke up for a second.
Nice mug.
Oh, thank you. Thank the wife for that.
Yep.
She made that.
Frank White, getting caught them off years. He said Peter, the big catch for biting at Waterloo. Watering. You need to come down.
Yeah, I saw that from Frank. Sadly, I am swamped with either guide trips or real work. I probably won't get to fish for another week. I've got that much stuff going on. I spent all the day editing, and if they're biting now, catch them while you can, because the spawn may kick you in the teeth anytime. I've seen some changes around here and stuff, but I want to get to Watery. I just have not had the time to get down there. There's a lot of good fish. There's a lot of good fishing down there. So I actually had to turn down some guide trips down there this week on people that wanted to go.
Mine with fishing down there, we're down.
Oh, the audio is dropping out on your end.
Yeah.
It's almost like it needs a second to catch up.
Yeah.
Now I can hear you. You sound good now.
Yeah. Catfish Regulator says, what about Lake Gaston? You think not now that
it was kind of breaking up, but I think you said something about Lake Gaston. I think Lake Gaston has the potential for another state record fish. I think the state record is in the 120s now. I think there could be some 130s in there. I think it could. The video I spent all day editing was with Joey Baird, who caught the North Carolina state record blue cat from Lake Gaston, and it was 123-ish, something like that. And I think it has the potential. Zach Royce catches enough fish down there in the, in that range, that 50, 60, 70 range, and then some 80s and 90s. And, there's been, I think he had a state record at 107, and then it was beat at 117, and now it's up to 123. So I think it has the potential. I don't know how much pressure is on the lake commercially, how much it gets pounded. But again, it's a little further downstream than Kerr. Might have a little more nutrients in it. Don't know if it's getting any more pressure or not. I think Kerr probably gets less pressure for catfish because it's such a known striper fishery. I think probably people put more pressure on it for stripers up there. Maybe that's why they relax on the cats. I don't know. But listen, nothing would surprise me on Lake Gaston. So yeah, I could see something coming out of there.
All right, we're getting done with the hook. I know you're talking about a little bit about your knot.
Oh dang! Now the audio is really bad, and I can't understand Hey, ding.
What is your go-to knot?
Go to knot. I did hear that. I've got two. All the tackle like swivels. Uh, it's just an improved clinch knot. Uh, obviously, I snell all my hooks, but and people ask why an improved clinch knot. I use it on hooks that are not circle hooks and don't have the bent out. Why that? I know it's not the strongest knot. It's muscle memory. I've been tying it forever, and you know, yeah, I can tie a Palomar knot, which is stronger. But I'll be honest with you, knots breaking is never that big of a concern with me because of where my drag's at. First of all, second, the amount the type of line I'm using. I got to really screw something up for my knot to break. Is what it comes down to. So that's why I go with those. I'm pretty light on the drag. And, maybe it's because when I'm fishing and the fish that catfish that we're catching are on the high end 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 pound fish. With that said, I use those same knot shark fishing, and we catch 1, 2, 3, 400 pound fish down there. So they work. So that's kind of the ones I go to. Nothing wrong with those other knots. I like a Palomar knot. It's a good knot. I tell anybody learning to tie a knot, learn to tie that one because it's technically stronger. But I go with the improved clinch knot.
Yeah. What is your go-to rig?
Did you say go to rig? Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of broken up. The one that I use a lot now is the Santee rig, and I've got one here in front of me. If you don't know what it is, depending on what school of fishing you're from, it's basically a snap swivel that has a sinker. Normally, a sinker is attached to the snap. And then a piece of leader material anywhere from 18 to 36 inches with a cork on it that floats the bait up off the bottom. Sinker stays attached to the bottom or in contact with the bottom. This floats it up. And I use this drifting. They call it a Santee drift rig. It was originally used for drifting, where a boat floats across the water and that's bumping the bottom. But I started using it anchored too. There are some instances I don't like to use it with live bait. A lot of times I won't use it with super big baits. But especially if you're anchored up in mild current, we get a lot of what I call milder current on our reservoirs where we get dam releases, and you may only have a half mile of current coming through there. It'll float the bait up. It's suspended in the water column, just a little bit off the bottom in that zone that most catfish are moving through in that bottom 3 feet. And it's easy for them to hit it. It's also cool to use when you are in an area that has a nasty, leafy bottom or a silty bottom. I think it just gets the stuff up out of all that stuff and makes for a better presentation. And depending on how you hook your bait and stuff, it can turn and tumble and flutter. So I'm sure there's some vibration created with that. Just something to help inside a bite. And that's the one I go with. The other reason I go with it is because I'm too lazy to retie it. So instead of carrying a whole nother set of rods with Carolina rigs on them, which is my second, number 2 is just a basic Carolina rig, I can just fish with Santee rigs and poof, good to go.
So I go with the down guys to with it. I'm using myself like I do a person.
Oh, for some reason, I can barely hear you now.
What now?
It's still crackling. It's still horribly cracked. I hope I don't sound that bad on your end, because
No, I'm here. My end.
what if we're silent for 10 seconds? I wonder if it'll clear up.
Yes, Paula. You know how to do it before we do that.
You know what I'm going to try? Let me retry my connection. And I'm gonna see if that makes a difference. You can always pull me back in if I.
Yeah. All right. So just give us a moment, guys. Let's see if we can fix this a little bit. Just bear with us. Can you all hear me good? Still bad right now? All right. Is it better? Okay. I don't understand it. I mean, it's been good. So, all right, Becca. Let's try this.
Well, I'm back. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if that helped or not.
Yeah, that helps a lot. What about mine? Can you
Still crackling.
hear me? Okay. Hold on a second. Let me adjust some stuff around here. I'm gonna switch to. I'm using a mic right now, but I'm gonna try to see if I can switch
All right.
to the camera
All right.
audio and see if that does any difference.
I heard a click.
All right. Can you hear me better now?
It is not breaking up. It's got an echo, but I can understand it.
All right. I've got the echo turned off.
Yeah, it almost sounded like it was some type of electronic something something, like it was wireless something something.
Yeah, I'm using my little bitty boom mic, but apparently this time it did not want to work. It worked last week, but not this time. So, so they're starting. I'm starting to get it here a little bit better. You're better. I'm iffy. So,
Yeah, it's just echoey, but yeah, I can
but
understand you now. It's not breaking up and cracking.
well, what about? They said I sound like Mickey Mouse. Oh, nice. Appreciate it. I actually sound more like Donald Duck than I do Mickey Mouse. So, but I won't go there. Yeah, I won't go there. But all right. What is your line of choice? What kind of line do you like using?
I like using yellow line because it's pretty. I use I use Andy Monster, 30 pound for catfish. I also use slime line for crappie fishing or crappie fishing, depending on what part of the country you're in. Uh, I think slime line has a little more stretch to it, so it's nice when you're using like 4 pound line or something, catching crappie and perch and all that. In case you get into something a little bigger, you got some forgiveness, but the abrasion resistance on the Andy that I use for catfish is hard to beat. It's a I hate to call it a hard line, but it's almost a hard line. It has virtually no memory. That's the other nice thing about it. It's a I just like it. I've tried a lot of different ones, and I like the stretch of mono, but I don't want a lot of stretch. So I don't want something that you have to re-spool every time you put a super load on it, or every time, especially with us drifting and dragging weights, you're going to get hung up. And when you get hung up, well, guess what? You got to wrap the line around a spool or a dowel to break it off, and in that process, you're going to stretch it. And when you stretch it, you may not get any stretch the next time you stretch it. So it's a great thing about the Andy. It seems to have enough stretch and a good bounce back from it. So that's why I go with it. It's not the cheapest line. It's not the most expensive, but it works. And like I said, for the small game stuff, I will use, if I'm using mono, which I use for like crappie fishing, I will end up using slime line. And now if it comes down to perch fishing, or any type like vertical, straight up and down underneath the boat, I'll use braid where I'm actually having to feel a bite. Because braid, and I use Power Pro Super Slick, it really telecasts a bite, into the rod really well. So those are my choices on those three scenarios. Oh, and leader. Uh, 50 pound Andy clear, and all I use is mono. I don't buy the leader line. I know the leader line is like super special and doesn't do something other. I buy a big spool of 50-pound Andy fishing line, and that's what I use for leader material. And Muskrat saying 4 pounds slime line is super nice. It is good line. I do like the slime line for that lighter weight stuff where I need some forgiveness in the stretch.
We've got James Smith, Patriot James that popped in. So
good old James, he is in the house.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yes, sir. He's one of the regulars from our world over here in the catfish world.
Yeah. Yeah, I got, speaking of Patriot James, sir, give me a holler later after the show. I need to talk with you about actually getting you on here. I've done had Lyle Stokes on here, so will be my next one to get on here in a couple weeks. So I really would appreciate you giving me a call later for that.
James is a good one. If you have any problem getting a hold of him, reach out to me and I'll put y'all two together.
Yeah, I think we've got each other's phone number, I think, and Facebook. So yeah, they gave me thumbs up. Oh, that's perfect. Yep. Yep, we got Fishing with the Chads in. I saw Mark with Catfish and Crappie. He was heading out to go fishing, so good luck, man. Appreciate it coming in. We've got Robert Andrews coming in. I believe he's new to the channel, so appreciate you coming in, checking us out. Make sure, you guys, you got questions, make sure you put them up there so we can ask them. So
throw them out there. Maurice Kaysen is in. I see him. So I see some names I recognize there. Muskrat Adventures. Yep.
There's Lyle, Catfish Weekly.
There's Lyle.
He's here to give Dieter crap.
He heard about chicken, and he's probably jumping on because he had ordered my special chicken bait package, and I told him I was shipping him one, and he was upset last night it hadn't showed up yet. So I know he's wanting to go catch some catfish and needs that bait recipe package that I was sending him. So he's probably wanting to check a tracking number on it. But I'll get up with you afterwards, Lyle, to make sure you get that Jello and that special mixing spoon that I've got.
Let's see. We've got questions here. Let's see. We've got Matt from Want to Be Outdoors. He says, Dieter, do you root for Clemson? I know it's not catfishing, but hey.
Yeah, here's the deal. I will root for Clemson because they are about 2 hours from here, and one of our television world clients is ESPN, and when Clemson wins, Dieter wins. So I'll also root for Duke, Wake Forest, South Carolina, and anything that is within about a 2 hour drive of me, because when they win, I win. So yeah, they have been, it's been my home away from home recently. Well, I say recently, it wasn't this past year, but every time they went to the national championships, yeah, it's done well. I didn't grow up a Clemson fan, though. I'll be honest with you. I kind of grew up not liking Clemson, but now that I make money off of them, they're my newfound friend. So there you go.
I know we've kind of already went over it, but Robert Andrews did ask, what size hooks do you use?
I use, and for catfish, I'm using either 4 or 5 aught up to 8 aught. For smaller stuff, stripers, that kind of stuff, I'm usually down there in the number 1 to 2 aught range, something like that, depending on what kind of bait we're putting out. And on they're not sabiki rigs, but the little double hook rigs you'll see me use for catching white perch and crappie, I actually put circle hooks on them. I put some number 8 circle hooks. Gamakatsu makes an octopus circle hook, and I put those on there, a little bitty hook, and they're idiot proof for catching those fish directly underneath the boat. I've tried some 10-aught hooks. Gamakatsu had what they called a big cat hook, which is basically a version of their octopus, the octopus circle hook. Point. Did we lose somebody? There, we're back. Okay. They weren't breaking. They were just going really dull. It's like they were rounding off. Nothing was breaking. It was just really weird. It was, so I didn't mess with them anymore. But the other hooks seemed to hold their points fine. So I don't know if there was just a batch, which can happen with any hooks you buy, that can just have bad steel, bad process, something like that. But there goes another 3-minute answer to a very simple question.
We've got, I think James said something about spawn with question marks. So I'm guessing you know what that means.
Yeah, we're kind of approaching the catfish spawn, into catfish spawn, depending on where you're at. I've had some places where I fish locally to where it seems like things shut down. But you can go to other parts of the lake and you can catch some fish. So I think it's starting. I don't think it's bad. Some of the videos I did the past few days, and when I was out there fishing last week before Catapalooza, it was, you went through some areas, you caught some fish, and then some places that had been producing for the past month, fish were gone. So I think it's spotty. I think it may get worse. I think it will get worse, but I think you can still catch fish. You just have to cover water. You're either going to have to anchor and hop holes when you don't find fish, or you're going to have to drift and troll, whatever you want to call it. Whisker and Stripes. Dieter, how did you overcome new boat-itis and chest repower the skiff? Well, the first thing to help clear up that boat fever was the price tag on boats. Second thing was the waiting time to get one. I would have been probably lucky to get a boat this year if I would have wanted one. Third, I can't keep count of how many items I've given you, but I think third, I don't know what I would go with. I'm somewhat frugal. I don't want to spend a fortune, but I don't mind spending money to get something that serves me well. But now, it's, when I bought this boat, my son was little. I wanted a boat with high sides that was safe, that was stable. So I got a Carolina skiff, very high sides, and it works great. Downside to it, it's not the best in rough water. So then I'm left with, well, what would I get to replace it? Well, money no object, I'd buy a Lund Grand Baron, or probably a Hughes Craft, or one of the North Rivers. But, you're talking a lot of money, and it's hard for me to justify that. So I put a new motor on it. I washed it. The one thing about having a white fiberglass boat is, and if you fish as much as I do and you have as much just mess in it, when you wash it really, really good and it gets really, really clean, it's like having a new boat. So I had a new motor on it. The people at Huntley Marine that put the motor on it for me washed it for me. Zach Taylor did a great job of cleaning the boat up. So it was like getting a brand new boat when I brought it home. Now, sadly, it looks like an old beat up catfish boat now, but that's kind of how I got over it. It's just that boat's fine, the hull's fine, transom's great. I put a new motor on. It's like having, it's good for another till the warranty runs out on the motor. So that's what I look at. If chicken becomes a game bird, will they be illegal to use like a lot of game fish? Well, that depends what state you're in. It's a good question to bring up. It's curious, can you use wild turkey for catfish bait? It's a good thing. It's a game bird. Is that legal? I don't know. I do know this, a lot of people will use deer hearts and deer liver for catfish bait. Pretty sure if you caught a world record on that bait, it would be ineligible for an IGFA record because it's a mammal part. Mental note there: IGFA
Yeah.
does not allow mammal parts for world record fish. Most of that
True.
stems from using like whale meat and dolphin to catch sharks with, but that was off in a totally different direction. So, a lot of people say the 6/0 is the go-to all-around hook. What do you feel is the all-around hook, and which style for what type bank and boat? 6/0 is a very good range. I hate to say all around because if you're trying to catch eater channel cats that are this big, it's probably going to be a little bit big. If you're chunking out a bait that is the size of your arm, 6/0 might be a little bit small unless you're using like a double or triple hook rig. But I have caught 50, 60 pound fish on a 5/6/0 hook. If it performs right, does what it's supposed to, so like the circle hooks I use, it's going to go to the corner of the mouth and it's going to hook up. There's nothing there to stop it. What kind of comes into play with catfish, because they have the big lip area on mouth area, jaw area that's as big around as your thumb. You kind of think, well, if you got this hook, it's going to pull it out here and it won't roll around the thumb part, it's going to miss. Well, if that happens, the hook's really going to the wrong place, I guess is the best way to put it. So 6/0 is a good, I hate to say all around hook, but it's a good hook to go with, especially if you're not chunking super big baits. A lot of people try to use hooks to match the fish when you should be using hooks to match the bait. Now there's a little bit of, there's a little bit of room there in that, well, you can't use a very fine trout hook to try to catch a 50-pound fish because it's going to straighten it out. But, I've also seen people that want to get 12-aught, saltwater tuna hooks and put a piece of shrimp or a bluegill head on it to go catch a catfish because they think they need a hook that big. So you gotta hit a little bit of balance there. But short answer to your simple question, I think the 6/0 is a great hook that covers a wide range of baits and catfish.
I think Matt also had something. He used something a little bit different.
Deer liver here. Used it last weekend and in Arkansas and Domino. Yeah, people use deer liver. People use deer hearts. I've heard of all kinds of deer stuff to use. I keep saying every year that I'm going to keep some deer heart and use it, and every time I forget to because I'm so much into deer hunting mode. So so I never do. Muskrat Adventure says, Dieter, if you want to donate your old motor, I know a guy too, and I haven't seen him in the chat yet, but the motor is sitting at his house. I actually had a guy, one of my guy trip clients, that wanted to buy it, and I got a friend who is actually Jeff Manning, team keeping it real. No, team. What the heck's his name? He goes by something on YouTube. I can never think of his name. I know Jeff Manning, but anyway, he's the guy that's helping me build the room addition onto the house for our father-in-law, and we were able to strike a good deal for the help with building that for the motor, and I didn't have to go through a whole bunch of rigmarole, and he even helped get it off of the truck when we got it home. You don't realize how heavy a 4-stroke motor is. Team Reeling the Blues. Why can't I ever think of that? Team Reeling the Blues does some great DIY boat repair stuff. We got a great channel for doing like putting rivets in boats and stuff that, replacing transoms and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, that's where the motor went. So it kind of got sold, it got gone kind of quickly. So good motor though, still running. It had a lot of hours. It was a Suzuki 90 and had last time we had it on the computer, and then you add in the service, alarms that went off. I think it was at 1900 hours on it. So I got my money's worth out of it, and I got a 115 Suzuki that I put back on it.
So I see your poles behind you. What kind of poles are those?
What's that?
What kind of poles, fishing poles, do you normally use? And I know we're going to get to one reel here in a little bit. I I like
Yeah,
the pinky.
yeah. Pinky is over there. I can see it. Pinky needs a new paw, so Pinky is on the workbench to be fixed. These are B&M. These are the make sure I say the name right. Silver Cat Elite. We did a deal with them in a tournament year before last in the Ice Bowl, and we fished those rods and tried those out, and they're a great rod. It was the first one that kind of clued me into having a longer handle, that section behind the reel seat itself. This one is I'm going to do this without knocking something down in here, is a Ripping Lips Super Cat. That's what this one is. Medium action. Medium action is what I like for the type fishing I do. It doesn't, we don't chunk a pile of weight.
I guess.
And make sure I come back. I just seen me disappear for a second, but I think I'm back now.
Yeah.
Disappeared again.
You're still posting on my side. There you go.
Back again. There we go. Some
Yeah.
people like it when I disappear. It seems like viewership goes up. But I've got Big Cat Viva rods that I've used, several different models that they have. I'm sitting here looking in the building. I've also got some Catfish Pro that I have tried out. Some people have seen those videos. And over in the corner is some Slime Cat rods, and I just got one. A Slime Cat rod at Catapalooza that they want me to try out. That's a bumping rod. I'm not into bumping, but after talking with some people, there's some stuff I want to try with doing that with a little variation from what most people associate it with. So I try a lot of stuff, and that's not to mention I've got 24 ugly stick catfish rods over there in the corner. I've got ugly stick tiger rods, tiger lights. I've used all of them, and the one thing I can say is there is no bass, and I've said that in my videos. There's a lot of good rods out there. There's some that are not suited real well for catfishing, but out of the ones I've used, I think a lot of it comes down to an emotional attraction to whatever you're using. It may be a longer handle, it may be the color of it, it may be the wrap that's around the guides on it, the way the handle looks. There's so many good ones out there, and it's somewhat to your style of fishing, depending on what you're doing. If you're casting, you may like the tip action on one a little bit better than another one because you feel you can cast a rod better. There's just a lot of variables out there. I'm not going to be one to say this is the best. I may do a title of a video like that because people think that there's a best and there's some magic answer, but it's like going, what's the best car? There's really not one. It all depends on what you're doing, how you use it, and what you're looking for yourself.
Reels. What bait casters, spinning reels?
Yep. We'll start at the top, and that is an Abu Garcia 6500. These are the ones I started out with. They are the workhorse, as I call them, heirloom reels. These are ones that you can hand down to your kids and grandkids. They are expensive. They cost more than other reels. But you can get them repaired. You can get parts for them. Most of the ones I got in the beginning, it was back when catfishing wasn't cool and bait casters weren't cool, and you could go on eBay and I could get that Abu Garcia for 45 or 50 bucks. I remember a time when I would not spend more than $50 for a used Abu Garcia 6500. I dare say you can't find the lowest starting bid on one there now. So they're great reels. With that said, not everybody has 120, 30, 40, 50 bucks to spend on one. So I put a lot of other reels on the boat the past few years to show people that these other reels will catch fish. The PC Fun reels are the Chaos bait casters I've used. The Catfish Pro rods that I've got Catfish Pro reels on them. Same thing with the Slime Cat. And they all work. They're not as expensive. They are not the same reel as an Abu Garcia. But you kind of get what you pay for. And if you don't have a ton of money to spend, and if you're not fishing a ton, you're probably never going to run into any wear issues with them any faster than you would any other reel. I fish a lot, and I put a lot of time on the water, and I probably, not as much as some guides, but more than the average fisherman, and I really don't see stuff break. You'll have pawls wear out on the level lines. That's normal. That happens on any reel. Probably happens at a higher rate on the less expensive reels, but it's that's a $3.95 fix, and you can do it yourself without sending it all. Spinning reels, started putting some of the PC Fun Chaos and Viper X reels on the boat because people are intimidated by bait casters, and understandably so. They're not easy to throw. They're not easy to cast. It takes some finesse and work to get used to them. And I use spinning reels also. Personally, I just use bait casters for so long that I'm used to them. But the spinning reels are something I put on there just to show people that you can use them so that people have some confidence and they don't feel bad. I get people all the time like, do I need to switch from a spinning reel to a bait caster? And I'm like, well, if you're asking me, you probably don't. If you are like, I got a reason I want to switch, is that stupid? That's different. You got to have a reason to do it other than you just think you're going to catch more fish, because you're not. It has nothing to do with catching fish. It has to do with, some of the mechanics of what you're doing, whether it be casting or, feeding out line, trolling, precision line placement, all that kind of stuff are some of the variables. And that's getting kind of advanced. And I think a lot of people will figure that out when they get to that point, and they'll know that they need it. So, big long answer to all that. Mr. Melhorn, I fish cat, fish pro, 30 series rod and reel. It's my first casting rod and reel. It feels awesome, works great for me, knowing that's what's important, but watch for. The one thing I found on them was, it was kind of like with the slime cat, which I think those reels are basically the same. The tuning on those things, because I think they've only got 2 brakes in them, centrifugal brakes. That's the little plastic things that touch the outside of the spool that make it slow down. They're not as forgiving as like an Abu Garcia, or even the PC Fun has more in there than that. But once you get them tuned in for your casting and your style of casting, and you put the right amount of weight on them, is the thing that works for me. A little more weight. When I go from like a 2-ounce drift weight, and what happens when throwing a drift weight, you got the weight, it's flopping through the air, you got the cord, it screws up your balance. You put a 3-ounce on there, I can cast them like crazy. The other thing I'm bad about is loosening the brake up on mine altogether and trying to thumb spool it, and then I'm dancing with the devil by trying to get that extra 2 feet and letting it spin just a little more than it should. And but the thing to look out for on them is, the pawls. The pawls are going to be the thing that's going to, wear out and go bad. That and the worm gear. And I'm going to reach out to them because I have a relationship with them, and that's one of the things I want to get answered is what's their plan for that. I did the same thing with PC Fun, and you can actually order parts from PC Fun to replace like stuff. Now, I will say this: dealing with PC Fun, I think you are dealing with people in China, so they have an American base of people that market and distribute, but when it comes to ordering a part and you go to their website, you have to deal with the people in China. You're going to have a part number and the name of the part. That is in that little book that you get that has the schematic. Keep it. Don't do like I do with all that stuff and throw it away, because I don't need that. I don't ever order parts. I needed it when I got wanted to get the pawl, because there's a language gap and they need that number and exactly what they call it. And I forget what the name is, but it's not just a simple pawl like we call it for an Abu Garcia. They've got another, it's like a level wine pawl guide or something funky like that. And you have to have that exact one, because there's a couple other things that have pawl in them. So my point being is that some of these lesser brands need to have some of that stuff in place. The ancient Mariner reels that I have, Pinky, that everybody has seen, I've got several of those, and when the pawl went out in it, I was always curious, because they claim, it says it on the box itself, lifetime warranty. And I'm thinking, we'll see how that goes. When the pawl went out, I emailed them, and they sent me a new pawl and a new worm gear. So, now, did I get that just because I use the thing a lot? I don't know, but I've heard it from some other people. Same thing with PC Fun. I heard they sent them the parts to fix the thing. So, long answer to your question, that's the thing you're going to have to worry about, is like pawls going out on them and, the worm gear. That's really what's going to go wrong on these things. The only other thing is, don't overuse these reels for more than what they are designed for. These things are not designed to put 80 and a 100-pound braid on and then get hung up in something and then trying to lock down the drag and wrap your hand around the spool to break it off. They're not designed for that. You'll tear stuff up doing that. So use them within the range. Somebody's asking about the Lose. Lose is another one that is in virtually the same class as the Slime Cat and Catfish Pro. They're just made by a brand name company. And, you know, they've held up fine. I've still got them. As a matter of fact, I was getting one to put on. I think there's something on one of them with an anti-reverse thing that needs to be cleaned because it's not throwing it into gear. But a lot of times that's just a cleaning issue more than anything. And listen, I'll be honest. I'm bad about, I'll use my stuff until it's so nasty and dirty and something clogs up on it. So I went out. I'm back.
Yep.
I'm back. Okay.
Yep.
That cleans them up every 3 months. So I put them through the paces, and you know, that is what it is. So long answer to your question. The Loose is holding up though. So
I was going to ask you, how's the Zebco doing?
I haven't got to fish it that much. For anybody that doesn't know, I made mention on one of my guide trips about wanting to do something which is like the old school Zebco 808, and one of my guide trip clients sent me one. I spooled it up with some line, probably way bigger line than it needs. I put some of the 30-pound Andy on it. I've only fished with it twice. I don't take it on guide trips. It's just, I don't think that's fair to, you know, have a, you know, if something goes wrong, I'd rather have it happen on a reel. I say reel, a bigger reel than that. But with that said, those things are rated, I want to say 25 pounds or 30 pounds of drag, which is stupid.
Yeah.
They're kind of clumsy. One thing I did notice, and part of that's muscle memory, just what you're used to doing when you're casting, it feels clumsy. It feels very clumsy when you reel because the reel handle is so short. You don't realize the mechanical advantage and just ergonomic advantage you get with having a power handle or one of the bigger paddle handles like on the Catfish Pro or the Lose reels. It's just funny when you get that little one, it just feels like you're sitting there on the Barbie ride.
I've got a Zebco 400 something I use for carp.
Yep. So I'm hoping that once we get past the spawn and kind of get into, I call it normal fishing again. I'm just extremely busy. I'm having a hard time just taking trips to film stuff for YouTube. I want to get it back on the boat and try it. And I think I'll hook into a slob on it, and I think it will be a hoot and it will be hilarious. And the catfish world will hear about it if I catch a giant catfish on it. Especially if I catch a giant catfish on a Zebco with chicken, then look out. Look out.
It was like we were talking before the show. I was on the phone with Paula Smith and in the creek, and I had my Walmart Lose 6-foot medium action rod with a 6-pound test line and hooked into a nice good sized channel cat that snapped it in half, the line in half. So hey, that would have been a major story if I could have reeled that sucker in on that little hole.
I think you can go to a Walmart and buy stuff to catch big fish with. I think it helps if you know what you're doing, though. It helps if you put the right line on there. It helps if you know how to set the drag. That's something I want to talk about in some videos. It's something that we kind of take for granted that people know. Something you need to talk about. But, getting that drag dialed in and stuff like that so you have some forgiveness. But, yeah, I mean, I expect the first part, I honestly think, myself included, a lot of people, when they start out, buy crap that's way too big. I mean, they are thinking that, I've got a rod over there buried in the back somewhere that's like this big beef stick, I mean, I could catch tuna on that thing, okay? But I'm thinking, you read some Field and Stream and Outdoor Life reports of these big catfish, and you're like, oh, I got to have that just in case I hook into that fish. When reality is there's nothing around here that I can't catch on a ugly stick Shakespeare ugly stick catfish rod.
Yeah.
So there was a while before my YouTube channel I was using ugly stick striper rods in a, I want to say, medium light action. They were like a pool noodle. I remember the late Ron Howard, a fishing guy down on Santee, good friend, passed away a couple years ago. He got on the boat with me one day down there, and Ron was an old dude, and he was rough and salty, and we went out fishing. I had those rods, and we caught two 30-pound fish. I caught one. He caught the first one. I said, "You're going to get it." And this thing is folded over like a pool noodle. He is cussing me up and down because the rod, and he had to work too hard. You do have to work, but we got the fish in. He wouldn't catch the next one. He actually made me reel it in because it was too big of a pain in the butt to get the thing in. But it can make a small fish a lot of fun. And it can make a medium to big fish a real challenge. Now, I wouldn't advise doing that in a river, with 8 ounces of weight on it, but there's some applications where you can make that fun. Yes, Michael Murillo, when that happens, you'll hear about it, and I'm hoping here into June I can make that happen.
Mike Costello said that you all need to meet up one of these days and show him around Lake Wiley. Mike, he actually has if you look at my description, I have a link to his webpage. He actually does guide trips.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that could be a good way to get in there.
Yep.
Especially he'll help you get on some good fish, show you around the water. Definitely.
The bad part is it's hard to find an open window now. I've actually pushed a bunch of stuff back to really July because there's just either days are booked. A lot of people want to go on weekends. We're getting into that really nasty time now. Our lakes are crowded with pleasure boat traffic, and usually on these trips this time of the year, I take people out. Usually, but it's like 4 a.m. Try to get out there way before daylight, or in the evenings. It's almost like it's pointless to be there at sunset. You almost have to wait until 11, 12 o'clock before things calm down enough to where it's decent fishing. So, but it's crazy. It's summertime, and once it hits 80 degrees, it's on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I can't wait to get back on the water. So hopefully I got some good trips coming up soon. Hopefully.
Now, what water is near you where you're at? Because I've had a lot of people. Okay. So you're a little further west, southern part of. Okay. Because I've had a lot of people come down here on guide trips from eastern Kentucky and western Virginia, coal mine country. And at coal miners, people at the railroad, it's amazing how many come down here because they told me there's not a lot of good fishing there for catfish, and that they're kind of very limited on where they can go and catch fish.
Our lake years ago, I want to say probably back in, I'd say probably 50, 60, somewhere around there, they let commercial come in and wipe out the catfish population. I mean, we still have some. Like I said, I just saw 2 of them yesterday, channel cats in a small creek. So I know we still have them, but we don't have the monsters like we should.
Yep.
They done took them out and sold them off for meat. We had right off the lake, we had our fish market and all that kind of stuff. So they sold all that stuff. And then we had pay lakes around here like crazy. So,
yeah, sadly, Kentucky has a bad track record for protecting and promoting trophy catfish. Tennessee's done a better job with it, but Kentucky has kind of a bad track record. Is that politics? Is that just nobody cares? Who knows? But I've heard a lot of stuff from there. Hopefully,
if anybody's seen it, I just posted last week a photo of they opened a new pay lake in Wayne County, Kentucky. They advertise that it's farm raised fish.
Yeah.
Let's see if that actually is true or not. Don't know, because they're right down on the lower part of Lake Cumberland toward Conley Bottom, Wolf Creek Dam, that area, toward Del Holler Dam, that side. So we'll we'll see.
Yeah, it's my thing is I think there's a place for pay lakes for the farm raised fish, so
Mm.
that you know. It, we used to have one here as a kid, and you could go catch some little bullheads and channel cats that they would put in there. They buy these
Mhm.
things. There are farms that raise these things by the millions.
Yeah,
It's a sustainable business. You got a farm that's raising them. You got a place that is buying them, and people can come fish. Not everybody can has access to water. You may have somebody that's handicapped in a wheelchair or limited. It's great for that. But I
oh
think
yeah,
where the problem comes in is when we get this lust for these big fish. And listen, I may be part of the problem along with some other YouTubers and Facebookers that post all this. I call it fish porn.
I lost you. Hold on a sec.
Blocked out. There we're back. Okay. Yeah, I ain't got a place to fish. I ain't, so I want to go to a pay lake. I'll pay them money to catch fish. So, that's where the problem comes in because these places will, like a lot of things, if there's money to be made,
Yeah,
people will find a way to capitalize on it. The bad part is they're doing it perfectly legal. In most places, they're not breaking any laws doing it.
no,
And that's where we definitely are to blame because we haven't done anything to get those laws changed. So
yeah,
we have to accept some responsibility for it happening because we need to be the ones as the anglers and stewards of the resource to step up and make sure that our elected officials step up and do something. And that's tough. That takes some work. We got it done here in North Carolina. It's probably been 10 years ago now with the Catfish Club that I was president of. And we got the
mm,
initial legislation in place. A couple years later, we got some more. A couple of years later, some more. So it's work. You got to figure out how to do it, how to play the game. And hopefully Kentucky gets on board because
but
there's a lot of good water out there.
I know Miss Paula's working on it. Her and her husband Ken are working on it right now,
Yeah,
with the Tennessee River, which, if I understood correctly from her talk with some of the other people, was any body of water touching the Tennessee River, which goes up into Kentucky, which is all the rivers and creeks that I'm on, they will have to follow suit with the legislation that they're trying to pass through.
yeah.
So that may help.
Well, I
Uh,
think her husband Ken is a smart guy. He knows how the
yes,
game's played in that world, and
yes,
it was exciting for me to hear that he was a part of what some people were doing there, trying to get stuff changed. We
yeah,
actually had some just recently, and this hadn't been publicized a whole lot. In South Carolina last week, they had some legislation that got passed. They changed, South Carolina had a law in place on Santee Cooper, one fish over 36 inches. Last year, they had a congressman down there that introduced a new bill that changed it to two fish over 32 inches, lowered the size, increased the number, but he added in a 25 fish limit for Santee Cooper and the rivers that feed it. So, interesting story. Last week, this stuff finally got passed. It got passed. It goes through these different steps in the House, and it got to the point where it was getting ready to be voted on. And I saw a message on Facebook that this law had passed and it was statewide. And I was like, no, it's not statewide. I read the bill, blah, blah, blah. Well, it ended up being statewide because this congressman went in and added in this little in this is the word the politics in this stuff is just it's good and it's bad. We benefited on this one as anglers this time. He added a line where it said, two fish over 32 inches and a 25 fish limit on the Santee Cooper lakes and all the rivers that feed them.
uh,
And then he added, and all other state waters. It was just those words, all other state waters, 4 words. He added those words. Nobody paid it any attention,
no,
didn't
no,
see it. They voted on it. They're like, hey, it's Friday. Yeah, I'm for it. I already read this thing last week. And got passed, and nobody, I don't think, paid it any attention. Went to the governor. Governor signed it. It's going into law, I think, June 1st. So this got snuck in. In this instance, it benefits, catfish anglers in South Carolina. Sometimes you end up being, the victim of a lot of these bills never make it to vote. People, you have the two heads coming together, the sport fishermen and the commercial fishermen, and it can be frustrating. So I lost two big fish, possibly personal best on 25-pound like just snap. I switched to 40-pound big game since that's what I had. I wanted to get slime grab. I got a break. Any suggestions? Well, I'll tell you this. If your 25-pound line broke, okay, I can tell you a couple things that happened. One, your drag was improperly set. Two, you had a nick in the line. Stuff will happen. You will get a nick in the line. A fish is just not going to snap 25-pound line if you're not doing one of those two things. It's impossible. So adding bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger line is not really going to help you, because that same thing that led to that happening the first time can happen again. I had it happen on a trip the other day. We had one break that far off the tip of the rod, and it was a bad place in the line. Whether that be something in the boat, a lot of times this little place right here on the rod where that line comes around the tip of the rod, it can get rubbed up against something real easy, especially if you pull into your carport with the rod sticking up and it rakes across that, or you go under a bridge and the rod's scraping. It can be a nick in the boat. Something like that will lead to those things happening. If your drag's set properly, it's not going to happen. I'm not a big fan of braid. There are places for braid. I like monofilament. My deal is I do a lot of trolling and drifting, and when braid gets tangled, you take scissors to it. It's kind of that simple. There's no real forgiveness, because it just keeps pulling tighter and tighter until it's in a knot. So I don't like it for that. I do like it for planer boards, because the Power Pro Super Slick floats on top of the water. And that's kind of nice with planer boards. You don't get that sinkage. But one of the things I like about mono is when I'm anchored up and you're in a boat and you're anchored and you're not in current and the boat's got some yaw to it, you get hydrostatic pressure on that mono because it sinks. So it's not exactly tight, but the sinking of the line in the water creates resistance, so that when you get a fish taking a bait, you can see it. So that's one of the advantages. But yeah, I'm not big on going bigger and bigger and bigger. And here's something else, and this baffles people's minds when I say this, is that the fish have to have a chance. It's what sporting means is about. Otherwise, we're doing nothing but single hook trot lining if you put 120-pound braid on a rod. It means that, all things being equal, the fish really have no chance once they're hooked up with what I'm using at 30-pound line. They're not going to break it. So you go bigger and you're putting 120-pound line out there, and you're trying to pull a fish out of a pile of brush. How much damage you can do to fish? And listen, let me say this: all of that's perfectly legal. That's perfectly fine. I just choose not to do it. I want something that's a little more of a challenge. The adrenaline rush comes from failure. And that's true in anything in life. When you know something is guaranteed and 100%, you don't get an adrenaline rush. It's when that chance of something going wrong comes in. That's when we get an adrenaline rush, whether it be hunting, fishing, skydiving, snowboarding, whatever. It's that fear that something's going to go wrong. It's something primal. And that's what makes having a fish on light line. My best fish last year was 32 pounds. And you're saying, well, wait, you caught fish bigger than that. Oh, yeah, I caught fish twice that size. But I caught that fish on 6-pound line with a crappie jig, okay? That was a great catch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That was hard to do. It was hard to get it to the top. It was hard to keep that crappie jig hook from not straightening out. And I knew I had one shot at it at the top, getting the net on it, because it was one bad head shake and it was going to snap the line. And that was an adrenaline rush. I mean, I was jacked up like no other fish last year. So am I going to do that all the time? No, because I don't think my heart can take it. But that's what creates the challenge and the fun. And again, listen, everybody's different. everybody's at a different place in their angling career. And angling is kind of like hunting. You've heard the 4 stages of a hunter. It's kind of the same for a fisherman. When you first go, you just want to catch something. You just want to catch a fish. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Take a little kid, just want to catch bluegill.
Yeah.
Then you get that figured out. You want to catch a limit. You want a limit. If it's 5 bass, I want every one of them. If it's 10 stripers, I want all of them. I want to be. And then you want to catch the biggest thing out there. You want to win a tournament. You want to be the man. You want to hold up the trophy. You want to hold up the big fish. You want people to go ooh and look at your pictures. And then finally, you get to the 4th stage where you get up in the morning and you just go, I don't know how I want to go fish today. I'm just going to go fish. You may go try to catch a bunch. You may go to try to catch one giant. You may go out there and just catch bait and throw them back. So everybody's at a different stage, so there's nothing wrong with that. So that's why I say don't get too, enjoy the journey. Enjoy losing. Losing makes you better. Breaking a fish off, it makes you better.
Oh, yeah.
You get to,
yeah. I was like that yesterday.
The only reason I went to 30-pound line was for planing boards. I used 20-pound line forever, and I wanted something with and I'm going to be honest with you, I may go back to 20-pound line because I've got some planer boards now from BCAP boards that have a locking clip that I don't have to worry about the line sliding through. So I may go back to 20-pound line, and I can catch any fish out there on that. So, just enjoy that journey. It makes you a better angler in the end. It'll make you a better fisherman. So there we go. Epic Catfish, Dieter says, Dieter, I'm in the 6th stage. There you go. See, you have evolved to like a sensei stage. You are the sensei when you are at the 6th stage.
We, the rest of us, you've not been in here much with us as much, but when Epic is in here, he is the walking encyclopedia for the rest of us when it comes to our waters.
There you go. Well, listen, that's the thing. If you got somebody like that in there, you're blessed to have them, because having that kind of knowledge around, there's some people out there that know a lot, and I try to pay attention to them. And I'm a student of the game, and by that you're always learning. There's always somebody. They may sit there and talk for 10 minutes, and they say a bunch of crap you already know. But if you ain't listening, there's going to be that one nuggets that's going to come out there, and it's going to be like, ooh, never thought of that. So that's why I keep listening. Hey, Ryan, what is up? Blue Collar Fishing.
Yep.
Glad you made it. We had a good crowd out there at Catapalooza, considering the last minute stuff. It was the nice thing was I had plenty of time to talk to everybody. The Catfish Conference is kind of overwhelming with how many people are there. They just had a decent crowd. It wasn't overwhelming. There's plenty of time to talk to people, and I think next year that Catapalooza is going to be really cool. So, for you guys in Kentucky, that area is real close. It's real convenient. So, you just have to go to Pigeon Forge.
I wish I could have made it down. Work is crazy right now. I can't leave. I've got nobody to take over for me. So it was nice to have Kevin to do a live stream. So it was good to be able to walk around and be able to, with him, and see everything and see everybody.
Yeah, Kevin and Palmetto Cats. Y'all check that channel out if you haven't already. He's he's our CNI dog. Whenever something's going on somewhere, whether it be a tournament, a catfish conference, a Catapalooza fishing expo, he's our CNI dog. He's the one that is showing up, and he's been a very good guy carrying the torch in the catfish community. And it's cool to know him. The coolie's just down the road, and I like it when it's there, because I can put my stuff away and go, you know what? He's going to do a better job than I can. I'll just go watch his live feed from out here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had him on last week, and it was a blast. It was one of the biggest so far. I'll say so far because you're on here. Shows that I've had.
He's a great guy, and he's one that has raised the bar. What's that? Oh, did I lose you?
I said he is one of the ones that had gave me the largest views on any of my shows so far.
Awesome. So it doesn't surprise me. He's got a great following.
Yeah. Appreciate that, Epic. Yeah, I'm a great kid. If you only knew how old I was, Epic. Kid. I love that.
You have a youthful look, at least. So there you go.
That's, I love how people confuse me of how old I am. It's fun. Um, but yeah, I'm not no spring chicken anymore. So
There you go.
no, we just got another reason why I didn't get to go down is because we just celebrated our 15-year anniversary this last week. So that's another reason why we didn't get to go.
Awesome
So
sauce. I think we are looking at 18 years next Monday. So yeah, that's a heck of a milestone. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate that definitely. But yeah, I mean, everybody here has been a good supporter of me. Trying to get this show up off the ground. This is my 10th episode now, so it's been really good. Getting people come on talk. I mean, it's to me it's something different. Everybody's talking about their biggest fish and all this other stuff, but nobody really breaks it down to what they actually use to catch these
Yep.
fish.
Yep.
So
And listen,
to,
I like the harder questions. I'm doing a video podcast now, and that's what I'm trying to do is stay away from the stuff you're talking about, trying to get to peel the onion back, so to speak, and get into the
yeah,
good stuff. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that stuff.
yeah. Brian Bort says you do look shorter on TV, and I'm in real life are much taller.
It's become a running joke now. I heard it a bunch the first year at Catfish Conference, and I heard it year, and yeah, I still get it. I get it from people guide trips too. They're like, you look taller in person. So that was there was some little kids this weekend I got my picture with, and I was like kneeling down next to them. So that became the joke of, God, you really are short. But yeah, it's yeah, interesting. It's interesting the
All right.
perspective
Like,
that it changed.
like
But
Ryan and Paula did a live together, and you can see the height difference.
yeah,
And Paula had
yeah,
to get up on a cooler.
yeah. Paula's a little dwarf, so yeah, she's a little bitty thing, and it's not fair because Paula can hold up little fish and they look big, where that butt holds up the same fish and it looks like it's like 9 pounds. So it's not fair. I think skinny people should be able to hold fish out to the camera like I do. See, I think skinny people should be required to hold them up right next to their body. So we're going to try to get that in the legislation in the future. So
Ryan Bortz, I like that thing. Let me pop it up here. There you go.
let's just say, oh, we need to get Epic and Dieter in the same live stream. Bring it. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It's nice to have a couple of people to bounce stuff off of. Well, somebody said here, Dieter, if I book a guide trip and wear my Ohio State jersey, will I be asked back or allowed more? Actually, one of my good buddies, that is make sure that's not you. No, that's not you. Is a big Ohio State fan, and it would be fun just to get a picture of it to send it to him. So, yeah, I have no bias toward any of them. So, hey, listen, as long as Clemson makes it, I really could care less because I make the same amount of money whether they win the national championship or they don't. So, I'm easy. So.
Michael Murrow, yes. He is my oldest brother. Dieter, I don't know if you know. Timmy with Chesapeake Bay Catfishing is my oldest brother. So, don't know why, but about almost every time we do the show, he ends up going on the spur of the moment the same time I'm live. So it's kind of like a little rival to see who can get the most viewers. Almost.
That is dirty pool. That is
Oh,
dirty
no, it is.
pool.
And it's funny too. It's fun.
Yeah, that's dirty. That's just mean. That's just mean. You know,
Yeah.
all ships float higher on a rising tide. Y'all should work together. You should go back to back. Is what you should do. You should, you should one should go before the other, and they should
Oh yeah.
toss
But
to
I
that
mean,
other person.
yeah. But yeah, everybody make sure you do go in there and say hi to my brother Timmy and Mama Chu. Mama Chu is a hoot. My sister-in-law. She's from South Korea, Seoul, South Korea. So she's a she's a lively hoot because you don't know what she's doing. Picking weeds. She is. It's weird. She is a master knowledge of what weeds are in your yard that's edible and are good for you.
Fascinating.
So
Fascinating.
a lot of the shows he'll show up a weed and says you can eat this, and it's something you can find in your
Listen,
backyard.
he needs to be good to that woman because if she ever gets tired of him, uh, she's going to feed him a weed that he's not supposed to eat. So,
Yeah, well, absolutely. She knows which ones are bad. Oh yeah. Oh, they've been together for so long. I think they got married back in, I want to say, back in the '90s sometime.
oh wow,
So,
good for them. Good for
yeah,
them.
yeah. But yeah, it's been good to him being out there. He's out there in Maryland and Aberdeen fishing off the Chesapeake Bay, and
Oh
I always
sweet.
have trouble
Yeah.
saying it. Susquehanna, or whatever you say it.
Yes. Yeah. I know. Is it
Yeah,
Susquehanna
that
or
word.
something like that?
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
That one.
yeah. So he does really good. So, but he's he's supposed to be coming down this summer. So we're gonna get on some fish when he comes back from summer home. But uh, we've been getting off track a lot. We've been talking about all kinds of stuff.
I know.
Um,
We went to edible weeds from
I know we
strawberry
get
jello
yeah,
chicken to edible weeds.
yeah. Speaking of strawberry jello chicken, we really need to get back into talking some of that stuff and some bait. I know you use strawberry jello chicken. What
Yep.
is your other go-to bait?
This time of the year, bluegill and really anything this time of the year. I mean, bluegill, shad, white perch. We got white perch here in our lakes and rivers, and that's in a very abundant fish. Bluegill are up toward the banks, so I end up using those a lot this time of the year. We can use crappie here. It's legal to use game fish in North Carolina as long as they meet the length and creel limit. So you can use those to
Gotcha.
catch catfish on. Those are very, 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 very good baits in April when those fish are kind of pre-spawn and starting to spawn and moving up toward the banks. But it's hard to beat shad. Shad's a good bait. It's up and down. There's times where it works better than others, and I think that's true with a lot of baits. Sometimes one is better than another, and that's just the nature of the beast. But I use all that different stuff. I've used striped bass before. The only reason I know how to catch striper is because years and years ago, somebody said it makes really good bait and it stays on your hook. And because it was legal to do, I learned how to catch stripers and started using chunks of those about the size of your thumb. You can do it with one small striper. And in fact, you don't want one too big, just length is. Luckily here, our very liberal. Let's see. Because Danny's back. There we go. I think I'm back. Blink
Yeah,
again. Now I'm back.
yeah.
Okay. But yeah, our striper limits are kind of liberal, so we were able to use them. But Ryan Board says best bait is fine if it's legal. And I'll be honest with you, it's anytime you can use any fish from the waterway that you're fishing, you're going to be okay. Some of them are better than others. One of the big ones around here that we can use now are spotted bass. They have taken away the creel and length limits on spotted bass in Lake Norman. They're non-indigenous. People hate them, and you can catch a pile of spotted bass this big. And they make great bait. They're actually good to eat too, but they literally won't keep every one of them. So there's another good bait. But it's hard to beat shad. We don't have skipjack. People always ask about that because I know that's on the other side of the hill, as we say. You get into the Tennessee River Valley. Skipjack are in those waterways. We don't have them here. I've used skipjack. I used them last week. I had a guy trip client that had been out there fishing and brought some back. Had been out there striper fishing and stole some from the guide that he was fishing with and brought them back here. And we caught some fish on them. I've had mixed results with it. I've had good days with it, and I've had bad days with it. I think, like a lot of things, I think it goes down to just what those core basic amino acids are in those baits, what makes the difference. And I think, having the oil helps with bonding some of that stuff that you get in skipjack. One thing about skipjack is, you guys out there that use it know, people that don't realize it's like putting hand lotion on. You use skipjack all day, cut up, you get back home and your hands are just buttery smooth because of all the oil in it. It's actually amazing. But yeah, I'm not super duper picky on I got to use this or I got to use that.
Yeah. Ryan said he's gonna holler at you and Epic, so he's gonna message you both.
Cool,
So,
that'll work.
something's in the plans there. Lee Evans, when you heading out, my brother? Not that one. I got a buddy of mine, Lee Evans, catfishing. He lives up in Richmond, up in that area. So
Yep.
Me and him went to Will Green Lake and fished, and so he's heading back out again. So he's gonna head out in about an hour. Lee, holler at me later. We might be able to figure out something on Saturday morning if you want to go again. I want to get out there and catch some biggins.
I wish I could go, but I'm working.
They got some good ones in there. The last time we went, he said some guys caught some 30s and 40 pounders
Nice.
out of there. So he did catch a 5-pound blue that day that we went out, but the water was so brown and murky. But it should be good and green, clear looking. So hopefully the water temp is going to be up good. So Ryan Bortz, I am in Pulaski County, around the Lake Cumberland area. I actually live pretty much on Lake Cumberland. So that's where I'm at.
How's the striper fishing in the lake?
They say it's pretty good. I've got a couple of guys that's going to call me this week. We're actually going to go striper fishing this week.
Oh.
So this will actually be my first trip going after them. So
Very cool.
Oh, we got a question. Finally, got another question in. Miss Becca.
I've seen that one. Yep. Do you still feel the excitement for fishing same as you did? I'll be honest with you. I feel it more now, to be perfectly honest. I have a much deeper desire to go. I loved it then, loved going fishing as a kid, but I get that question a lot of times on guide trips. Is guiding still fun when you're not catching the fish? And I'm like, it's more exciting because I'm lucky I've got a perspective on it. And I'll tell you what that means in a second. But I enjoy, the challenge of just, you get to go catch fish. It's not like a tournament where you got to catch 2 fish or 3 fish and you're fishing for that. It's a totally different type of fishing. You're trying to catch some fish. You're trying to catch some people, some decent fish. So you've got a lot of freedom to go fishing and fish the way I fish. And that's the cool thing about it. And it's exciting. It's what I was saying about perspective is a lot of people lose perspective on what we've got, especially like we're at. I'm blessed to be on a fishery that has good fish. It's not the biggest fish in the world, but we got a lot of good fish. You've got a chance to catch a 40, 50, 60-pound fish. They're not behind every rock. You're not going to catch them all the time, but you've got a chance to do it. And you've got a better than average chance of catching, something in the teens. And, you get people on these guide trips and you have to keep it in perspective. Because it's real easy to get out there, and I did this the other day, and I actually apologized to him for the way I said it was because we only caught 4 fish. Okay, in my opinion, that's a slow day. That's slow for May. It had made a turn in what was going on, but there were 2 personal bests that were caught. They were 14, 16, 19, and 24 pounds. And, I had to say, listen, I'm sorry for saying this is a slow day. This is a great day. We didn't catch a ton of fish. Well, we caught some really good fish. So you have to keep it in perspective to where you're at fishing and why you're fishing. And I'm lucky that I'm able to do that. Sometimes, and this happens every year, as the spawn starts to kick in, you have these days where it's day after day of catching decent numbers and decent fish. And you have some great days mixed in. And then when it takes a turn and, I only caught 4, they were all double-digit fish, with one in the 20s. Yeah. For most people out there, that is a great day on the water.
Oh, yeah.
That went away. I'm back. I blinked. Okay, I think you got it. So you've got to keep it in perspective. So it is fun as heck. I never, sit there, I give people a pretty honest assessment of what's been going on. And, I'm not one to go out there, we're killing them and all this stuff because, I just think that's kind of car salesman-y and doing that kind of stuff with fishing. They kind of know what to expect from watching my videos. That's the kind of fishing we're doing. We're going to try to catch some fish. We may catch some good ones. We may catch some little ones. You may catch a giant whopper. That's kind of what we're doing and what we're after. And, that's the thing. And so, it's exciting. It's exciting because if you watch any of my videos, a lot of times I don't go where I caught fish yesterday. I'll do it on guide trips. I ain't gonna lie to you. If I'm on a pattern that's working, I'll use those places. Most of the time in my videos, I go someplace different just for the challenge of doing it, just trying to figure out what's going on. And that's fun. And it's fun doing it on a guide trip because it keeps you on your toes. Because you get different levels of anglers. You get some people that, know what they're doing. Some people that don't know that much about angling. So you get a challenge there. So it's very challenging, which is very fun. And, you can have days where in a tournament angler's world, you didn't do that much. But in the day of somebody who doesn't get to fish or doesn't get to go on a boat, it's the greatest day they've had in months. And that's where you have to kind of check your ego at the door and go, I'm out here for a different reason than what somebody else is, trying to catch a trophy fish or win a tournament. You're out there for, and the other thing is, the biggest, coolest part is, especially on the guide trips, is that you can actually have a positive impact on somebody by what you do on that boat and on that trip. You go win a tournament. Okay, you win a tournament. You get the hoop and holler, hold your check, get your picture taken. You go catch a big fish, trophy fishing. Okay, did you really help anybody, make anybody's day, give them an experience? No, so that's kind of the cool part. And that's the perspective where, I'm still as excited to go as ever. And, I know I'm not going to get to, fish here for a couple, like over Catapalooza, I know I wasn't going to get to fish. I'm ready to go. You guide 6 days in a row and you're like, it's going to be nice to have that 7th day off. But then, you get up that morning and you're drinking coffee going, where are we going to go tomorrow? So,
or like, let's go ahead and go out tonight or go out today.
I think that's what separates somebody that has to do it from somebody that wants to do it. And I'm blessed. I'm still healthy and still able to do it, still enjoy it. So I'm gonna keep on trudging along.
Ryan Boards, I know you hate spawn, but hey, I know you're a kayak buddy, boy. You need to hit some of these creeks for spawning right now because they are way up into the creeks right now. Take it from me, I saw 2 channels yesterday in a creek miles and miles away from the lake and big rivers. So they are up in there. You've got to get up farther up in there.
That's where I sent somebody today that was asking me where to go tomorrow. And I said, yeah, that creek thing seems to be kind of where they're at, further back in there. Not a lot of luck out. Dance Creation has a good question. How would you compare guiding to fishing in peace and solitude on your own? The one thing I've noticed is I am a lot more patient or lazy. I'm not sure what the difference is when I'm by myself. I will try and experiment and do stuff differently when I am by myself because I could care less if I catch a fish. I could care less if I catch a big fish. If I do, great. But the good thing about that is that I try to fish by myself some or take my son or somebody just so I have the freedom to go do that. Because sometimes it clues me into something that's working, like with some of this creek bite stuff that I figured out the other day when I had a day off from guiding. And we were in that time I thought, oh God, the spawn's kicked in, it's going to lock down. Well, I went out and did some prospecting on my own, shot a few videos, and lo and behold, I thought, there's some fish to be caught here a little different way. So I say just, I'll wait a lot longer on a just solo trip. Or on a guy trip, I'm not running gun, but if something's not working, I'm generally not going to lay in it all day. I'm going to try a lot of stuff early. And, I'll hit a place for 30, 45 minutes. And if we're not getting bit, I'm up and moving. So I'm probably a little more chill and willing to sit a place when I'm out there by myself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Guiding is where, when, and how I want to fish, and I win that tourney every trip. Yep, everybody's got a different, perspective on what they like and where they want to go and what they enjoy. A lot of people like the pressure of a tournament fishing. Sadly, and you talk about something that will get the crap pot stirred up, is when I say this in a big group of tournament fishing, is I believe when you get a group of good tournament anglers together, and I'm talking the best of the best. When you go to what used to be the Winter Blues on Wheeler, Mississippi River Monsters, the Southeastern Catfish Club around here, where you have 60 or 70 boats, you've got a lot of great fishermen that have caught the fish it takes to win tournaments, have won tournaments, have landed those fish. There are a lot of good ones in there. Probably literally half the field has what it takes to win that tournament. The thing that separates them from winning and losing is luck. And they hate that. They hate, no, it's skill. Well, no, if it was truly skilled, the same person would win every time. And
absolutely.
That seldom happens. You'll get people who'll get on a streak. You'll get people who will do good. But, you'll get people that will consistently be in the top 5 or top 7. But what separates, that one from number 2 is luck. And once you kind of realize that, it's kind of like, dang, it's like really no matter what I do, I can't change that variable. I can do everything else right. But that one variable is out of my control. And, that's fishing to a certain extent. But, as I say, I can go fishing and experience that same frustration without paying somebody $200 to experience it. So that's why, and trust me, I fished so many tournaments, and, they're fun. I enjoy them. I enjoy the camaraderie of them more than anything. But, I think that's what it comes down to. And, again, though, people are different. People get their, whatever it is, their drive, their satisfaction, their happiness in different places. I just get mine differently than somebody fishes a tournament. Nothing wrong with fishing them. I keep saying every year I'm going to fish one this year, and, I didn't do any this year. I say this year, I'm going to go fish one. Because, I have some, promotional deals with people where they want us to go do them and do live stream from them and all that kind of stuff. But it's not as much fun as taking somebody out there fishing that, doesn't get to fish, doesn't get to ride around in a boat. That's just a lot more fulfilling to me. So. Any tips on severe shallow water, especially near the spawn? Here's my thing, Mike. I think at this point in the spawn, shallow water, I don't have as much luck in. Part of the reason is I don't think catfish spawn in shallow water necessarily. I don't think they are like bass and crappie and bluegill that will that's just where they go. I think while there are flatheads that will go into shallower waters, rock piles, under boat, blah, 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 blah. I don't know if there's enough place for I don't think you have to focus on shallow water to catch spawning catfish. I think the more medium water ranges, I think, is where a lot of. I think there's some fish that spawn in open water. We've seen these big craters on the side scan and structure scan. It looks like a big moon. It looks like a bass bed that is 3 feet across. And we've seen these things out there in open water. They seem to be fanned out perfectly, like, in that round shape. And again, this is all theory, hypothesis, whatever you want to call it. Some people said, well, maybe they're eating mussels. Well, it seemed like if they were looking for mussels, they wouldn't fan out perfectly. They'd be just kind of wallowing around. We know pretty much. Oh, there, I'm back. And I say mention these bigger fish because that's what we can measure on the side scan, is that some of these fish are 24, 36, 40 inches, huge one. So it's a bigger fish. Could it be a gar? I don't know. I don't know what the spawning habits are of gar. Maybe there's some gar down there that are fish that are. They're in deep water, and that's the only. And the fish that you see in the craters look like a fish. They're long. They're long and narrow. So I think some of those are catfish spawning in those areas. The literature, the scientific literature says, oh, they're going to rock piles and roots and all that. And that's true I'm sure in a lot of places that have all that. But when you get on a lake like a lot of these in the Catawba chain, these lakes are 100 years old. A lot of these areas have been silted in, especially on the main lake. A lot of this stuff just has, debris that's washed into it, red clay banks that have disintegrated and washed in. And, I think there's not that many like holes like this. So I think there's other places they go. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. Don't necessarily think you have to go into shallow water. I think your best time to be fishing shallow is when the water first warms up in the spring. And when those crappie, bluegill, and other fish start to go up there to feed. I think that's what the catfish are doing. I think they're going up there to feed on them. And they may be looking for a place to spawn. That may be why we catch them in April and early May. Kind of shallow is because, they're running up into the shallow water looking around trying to find a place. So
I know my shallow waters are full of suckers, rock bass, minnows. I mean, they're just by the dozen sitting there. So I know they're coming up shallow for food, definitely, in my area.
Yep. It says, I found it less fulfilling than specifically targeting big fish on anchor clients or not. Are you the same? I don't know if I totally in Dragon with found one thing. I got interested in Dragon with my client. Found it less fulfilling than specifically targeting. Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't know. I don't know. I like to catch fish. And if that's drifting or anchoring, I like that. I don't know. I guess I get my fulfillment from the clients being happy, and that varies a lot of times on who you got. I've had people contact me about wanting to do trophy trips, just trophy fishing. And, I say, yeah, I do it. I said, but, when I explain to them the tactic on it, it's usually a lot of riding, looking for fish, marking fish, setting up on them, and sitting there a long time. And it's usually big, it's usually the big bait, sit a long time, wait for a fish reaction. We're going to catch maybe 3 fish, 4 fish, on an average like thing. And a lot of people aren't interested in that. So I don't know. Everybody's different. That's the beautiful thing about fishing. Everybody gets, satisfaction and fulfillment in different ways doing this. And man, as long as you're doing it legally and being respectful of the resource and a good steward of the resource, It's why I don't get bent out of shape over, trot lining or jugs or limb line. It's not my thing. But, if you're jugging and you're catching fish, you're not, killing everything and killing trophy fish, then who cares if you catch some fish that way? It's as long as you're still, the resource is protected in all of it. And that, that's kind of paramount. I could care less. I care less if you use 100-pound line to do it. Nothing wrong with keeping fish. You want to keep some fish to eat, that's fine. Just, if people were just mindful of the resource and realize that it's not endless. No matter how many fish you're catching, no matter how good you think the waterways are, it's not endless. And we have seen that reality come to haunt us on Santee Cooper with the massive striper population in the 70s and 80s that disappeared. We seen the decline with the blue catfish down there because of unlimited and uncontrolled harvest. So there are limits to it. So, Dieter, do the catfish spawn at different times based on species? If you read the scientific literature, yes, they do. You read these numbers and they've got this, these temperature ranges and all that kind of stuff. The bottom line is it seems like they all overlap at that midpoint that, usually June, usually 1st of June, it seems like everything overlaps. And that's when the flatheads, the blues, and the channels, all of their temperature ranges in most places overlap. Now, temperature, let me just say this on temperature. I think temperature is a good indicator of when the spawn is happening. I think daylight plays a bigger part in the spawn than the temperature does. I think if we had some weird thing where the temperature never got above 68, I think catfish would still spawn. I think once it gets to a daylight point, I think it's going to happen. But supposedly, I guess you read different stuff. They come up there. A lot of this stuff is figured out in ponds, these containment ponds where they have these fish and they have flatheads in these big metal jugs and stuff that they go into and spawn and they measure and do all these counts. It's a little different in the wild. There's a lot more variables in the wild. But I think even fish of the same species, whether it be blue flathead, whatever, they don't all spawn like within 3 days of each other. It's not like a mayfly hatch. It's not like cicadas coming out of the ground. And I think that's nature's beautiful way of covering the bases, so to speak, in case there's a flood, or in case there's some low water, or otherwise predators would have a feast and, they would have a conditioned response that as soon as this happens, boom, all the predators would eat everything that's out there and, it would be over and done. So I think that's why it happens in like different little levels. So there you go. So Patriot Catfishers of America. Dieter, I want to go head hunting with you. How much? What are you talking about, James? If you want to go on a guide trip, go to my website, DieterMelhornFishing.com. I've got links to my podcast. I've got links to my fishing gear. I've got links to my guide stuff. That is like a pre-programmed response for my podcast. It's like I can rattle that off without, there's so much of that stuff I can just rattle off and say. But,
and if you go to my description in this show, there's his website, his Instagram, his Facebook, his merch page, his everything.
Yep. I gotta do a better job on the merch. We've got a bunch of shirts, and I have done a horrible job. I used to have, what do they call it? Is it Spotify? Not Spotify. Whatever the one is where you sell stuff. And that was early on when I first had a channel.
Oh, really yeah, I know which one you're talking about, yes. Teespring.
Yeah, it's one of those. And it didn't, and I got rid of it because you have to pay so much money. But I could probably sell some. Yeah, I could probably
with Teespring.
Yeah, I could probably sell some now. I need to make a thing and do it. But yeah, it's everything's on my website. Just go there and all the answers to the world are solved through my website. Tomorrow is a super moon with a red moon combined with a lunar eclipse. What's your own opinion on the bite for tomorrow? I think the fish are going to have the crap scared out of them with all that going on in a red moon. I'm glad you told me that, Doug, because I'm going to have to go check on that. It's a good question. I'll be honest with you. If you watch my channel, Eddie, I just go fish. I would be curious what the little Solunar table says about that. I do believe to a certain extent that the lunar cycle plays some kind of part. There sometimes seems to be a correlation between a good bite and a bad bite with overhead, underfoot kind of thing with the moon. With that said, I've had really good bites when none of that applied. So, there is almost like a 6-hour cycle to good fishing, I guess is the best way to describe it. Almost like you have with tides when you fish saltwater. Your tides swing about every 6 hours, high, low, and, you have bites depending on what the fish is and how they feed in relation to those tides. Fish don't bite forever in saltwater. There's usually about a 90-minute window when you can stroke them, and then they disappear, and then you get back onto them. So, I don't know. My thing's this. I'd go fish. I think if you fish all day long, during that thing, you will catch fish at some point if you're biting.
Oh, yeah.
That was no help whatsoever, was it? That didn't help
No.
at all. So, yeah. Oh, this is a good question. Do you hog hunt? I mean feral hog, not big hog fish. we have hogs on our property where we deer hunt. And I say hunt them. If we see them, we shoot them. I have not pursued them. We do have some guys in our hunt club that these are nuisance. Oh, I disappeared. I'm back. So, these are nuisance animals, and you can't kill enough of them. But I've never really done it. Most of those guys, they like chase them with these pit bulls. The pit bulls get a hold of them, and then they go stab them or something. So it's kind of it's real barbaric and He-Man-ish, and they got spears and everything. The bad thing is you have to pick and choose which ones you eat, because apparently like the boars really taste nasty, and then the little ones taste good, but they're hard to kill, and then you can get some type of, I don't know, is it trichinosis or something, that from something in their digestive something that makes you sick. So it's just complicated. So I don't actively pursue hogs, if that would be the best answer to that. Great question though. I've never had that one asked.
Well, I mean, since we're on the subject, anyways, what do you do besides fishing?
Well, I do hunt. I'm a hunter in the fall, but that's limited. That's pretty much for us October, November. I do come over your way to Kentucky. I go over to Hopkinsville, Christian County area. Head over that way every year for firearm season. Been doing that for over a decade now. Obviously, YouTube. I do YouTube. That's tied to fishing, so that kind of doesn't sort of count. But I'm going to be honest with you. That's pretty much it. I mean, fishing's my passion, and I don't play golf. I don't bowl. That's just kind of it. That's just kind of what has become. Just kind of what I eat, breathe, and sleep. So that's kind of. I ain't got time for nothing else, to be perfectly honest. That's the that's the thing. We were talking about the other day. My son, he helps one of his friends. They cut hay, and he likes to play farmer and all that. We've got a tractor. We've got all kinds of implements. I've done a little bit of gardening, growing crap, but a couple years ago I realized I don't have time for that. It's just that's not a passion of mine. I explained to him. I said that's something you got to have a passion for if you're going to do that. And I don't have the passion for it. So that's kind of it, man. I'm outside of going hunting and spending time with the family and the YouTube world, man. It's kind of all consuming. I don't know if you call that a boring life or a blessed life, but for me, I can't think of anything I would want to undo to go do something else. So that sounds fulfilled to me.
You got that balance of everything. So
yep. Now my wife would argue with that, because it can be crazy sometimes with just how much time we spend doing all this stuff. But I try to. There are times I just check out and say, we ain't doing anything. We're going on vacation to the beach. And I'm not doing guy trips, even though we did rearrange one day of it because of a actual production job I have here. But still, we live life, we have fun. I took the family to Catapalooza Fishing Expo this past weekend up in Pigeon Forge, so they got to go do some pigeon foraging with all the stuff they got going on up there while I was at the show, which I think's a great selling point for that location. And so they get to do stuff like that, and it's cool. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One question I ask all my guests to come on: what is advice that you would give anybody that is just starting out in catfishing when it comes to tackle?
Don't overdo it. Actually getting ready to do a video on this, and I actually wrote down some bullet points on that thing. Don't overdo it. We talked about that earlier. That's the thing that everybody, all you see is the highlight reel on Facebook and, my videos and, well, I don't know, not my videos because I catch a lot of little dink fish. Don't overdo it. Just start out catching some catfish. Start out small. Get your line broken. Go home and go, my line was too small. That's, 6-pound line was too small. Don't go too crazy trying to get into it. And, you can ratchet up from there. Start out with 12-pound line if you're fishing for catfish. That's a good medium range, and you're not going to break everything off, and it's got some resistance. Obviously, if you're bank fishing, you're a little bit behind the 8-ball and dealing just with debris, structure, everything on the bottom and coming through all that. But you can overkill it, too, to where, a 6-7-pound fish ain't no fun to catch anymore, and you have to get something bigger so you're at least getting challenged on what you're doing. So, I think just keep it in perspective to where you're at, too, and what you have. I get questions like that daily. Well, I can't get on any big fish, blah, blah, blah. I've been catching 5, 6, 7-pound channel cats, and I can't get any big fish. I'm like, where are you fishing at? This 3-acre pond near my house. Okay, there's not going to be any 50-pound fish in there. It don't happen. You got to fish to, the waters that you're fishing. And, different ball game if you're out fishing on the James River. You're going to have to up your game to do that. But, it's you got to keep it in relation to where you're fishing. Keep that perspective and make it fun. Don't beat yourself up trying to do this or, get this picture on Facebook or any of that stuff. That poor dog, I really wish I had my chicken, my yellow chicken. I would have that dog going nuts and climbing all over your computer.
Oh, he already is. This is what he's going after.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he's killing me.
Yes.
Killing me.
That was the thing. I had a guide client give me a rubber chicken, and it squeaks. And I did some videos, and every time we'd catch a fish on chicken, I'd squeak it, and and I had probably 10 emails and messages from people around the country that would watch this thing streaming on their TV, and I would squeeze that chicken, and the dog would come flying in. They said they had dogs come flying in, jump up on the couch like, where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? I heard it. And, dog would leave, and then I'd do it again. Dog come flying in. Where's my toy? Where's my toy? Time to play. So.
Bad thing is, I'm the only one home, so I have to deal with them in here. But, it's like Patriot says, just have fun.
Absolutely.
Dan's Creation just says, it says don't overdo it. Yeah, just make sure you keep hooks, sinkers, swivels, the usual stock in your box.
Yep.
And the biggest thing I've heard everybody else say is Walmart has your starter kits when it comes to catfishing. If you're into a budget, if you've got a budget, you don't want to spend a lot of money starting out. And I've heard a lot of people go to Walmart, buy what you need to start out with. Don't go overdo it. Don't spend a lot of money. Don't buy $100, $200 reel. So
I'm making a note right now as you say this. It's gonna be a video I'm taping tomorrow. Catfish starter kit, and that's a great idea because this is the thing. As I'll make sure it's written there. We take for granted a lot of times in the fishing world that everybody knows that. Everybody knows. I said earlier what I use an improved clinch knot and a uni knot to snell the hook. Well, a bunch of people are, sitting there, probably watching going, what's a snail? Or
Yeah, yeah. They're thinking of the animal. They're thinking of the little heart, the shell.
Yeah. Well,
Tail. They're not knowing
doing how's he doing that with a snail? Is that like a snail in a shell or a slug? And so sometimes, especially in the YouTube world, you need to break stuff down to the basics. And I mean very basics, because there's no slam on anybody watching. It's somebody, people have to start somewhere. Listen, I've got people on guide trips, fathers, grown adult men that have never fished in their life, and they want to bring their kids. And half the reason they come is so they can learn, because it's intimidating. The first thing you do is you look up fishing. Well, all of a sudden you're supposed to be bass fishing, and then you got all this stuff. It's like, well, I don't know about all that, because he's 6 years old. He can't, skip a something up under a dock, and then you're
like a frog or something underneath.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's like, well, how are we going to catch walleye? Well, first you have to have walleye in your water, and you probably don't have them here. So, so you have to break it down to some basic stuff, and that's good. That's the beauty of the internet. It's the beauty of YouTube, is that you can do all that, and you can find all that information. And when somebody follows me or comes across me, however they stumble across me, then having that stuff there for them is there's so many people. That's like a godsend. It's like, oh my God, I don't have to deal with that rotten, stinky stuff in that tub. I don't have to learn how to throw one of them cast nets. And, it's just like, it makes it simple, and you can ratchet it up from there. And, that's the cool thing about it. Ryan says, please go to mom and pop shops, not Walmart. If you got them, that's the bad part. And probably Walmart.
What I was going to say is this: I don't have anything. I don't have any little mom and pops. I mean, I've got a little small hole in the wall Bass Pro Shop that has nothing for me. Nothing.
Yeah. The bad part is that I guess they may have driven some of them out of business, but. A lot of times too, especially, I mean, in my little niche of the catfish world, you're not going to find most of the stuff you need in a local bait and tackle. Most little bait and tackles are, geared toward very, very simple kind of fishing. But they are cool, because they will tell you exactly what you need. It's nice when you get to one, like down toward the coast, Bass Boys down at Merle's Inlet, Jay Bass, he's a former guide down there. He's got a tackle place now. That's the kind of place I wish was everywhere. You go in there and Jay, what's working right now? He goes, you need this copper cork rig, and be floating something, he can tell you what's going on, and you can go do it. He can tie it up for you. Sadly, it's hard to find those places. There's
we've got one that walks through our chat all the time. Lee Reed, Uncle Lou's Tackle. That's one thing I've got to get. If I can get out on the boat, I've got 2 of his planer boards. Just dying to use them. So I really want to get out and use them. They're good made planer boards. So
that's one of the cool things about the internet, is that you can indirectly support the mom and pops. They may not be right in your neighborhood, but a lot of these, especially in our little catfish world, a lot of these are basically mom and pop operations. The people that make the BCAT planer boards I use, it's a husband and wife, making these things. James Arwood, at Hooker's Terminal Tackle, put on the Catapalooza Catfish Expo. That's a mom and pop's operation. Is luckily now we can do it via the internet and get it shipped to our door. Nate Davis, who Tackle Bandit, ordered some cannonball sinkers from him this morning. They'll be here in a couple of days. You can't find those around here anywhere. Nobody has those things. But they're around. Jamie K Outdoors is near us here in South Carolina. He's one of those that's got everything you need for catching catfish. Now, he does fish for catfish. That definitely helps. So he's got a lot of stuff in there. But a lot of times you got to dig and look for those, places. And, I would rather deal with them just because you got somebody to talk to in there about fishing. You go into Walmart and they look at you like you got 12 heads when you ask them about a Santee rig. And,
Yeah.
you ask them what does it take to make a Santee rig, and they'll start looking on the shelf. It's like, no, just thank you. So,
No.
Yep.
Or Carolina rig or anything like that. They're like, some of them like, what's that?
Yep.
But yeah, we still got 20 people in here. Thanks
That's
for everybody
crazy.
sticking with us. I know Roger with Muskrat is already live because he came on at 8. So don't forget to go over after we get done here. Go there and watch him, his show. I think he's gone live already. Yeah, he has already went live. So
Whiskers,
yeah, definitely.
Whiskers and Stripes said a place called Land Big Fish. Is that place in Lenore City? It seemed like there's a place in Lenore City that sells bait or something and striper fish and stuff. That's something big fish or big fish tackle or something like that.
Yeah.
I was curious if that's the same place.
Haven't said anything yet. Dan's Creation says Santee rig. What's that? Yeah. Dan, I'm not even gonna comment if you don't know what that is. Sorry, bud. No.
It's safe to say I've got a video or 4 on it. So yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, if you want to go look at some good rigs, go look at Dieter's little video where he gives you different ones of rigs.
Yeah,
and they're good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Ryan said Big Fish Outfitter is there. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. And there's another one near Fort Loudon Dam that sells frozen skipjack. That was the other one I was trying to think of. That's a cool little mom and pop's place. I've got it buried somewhere in my phone or something, but they sell frozen skipjack. And that's a cool one that is underneath a gas station in the back, and they got all kinds of stuff in it. That's one I love wandering into those places when I got 2 minutes to pull over somewhere and just go into them, because sometimes you can find some really cool local specific. The biggest thing, the hidden treasure in all them places, is if you can ever find old lake maps. Because some of them old paper lake maps will have stuff on them that you don't see on the new ones. It'll have there used to be some where there were some culvert pipes that were dumped in Lake Wiley, and they had a pile, they had there, and it was like one for the base of an old silo, and all this stuff from back 50 years ago that they put on there that it's not on the new maps. The new maps got contour lines every foot, but they don't have some of this funky structure, a pile of rocks or an old barn. I've seen some stuff on there. Those things can be little bitty treasures for finding some of this stuff.
Oh, there you go.
2 of everything on video. Epic, you're exactly right. And I dare say after this morning, somebody asked me about something. I think I showed them 4 videos on whatever the topic was. So if it's a boring topic, I'll have 2 videos. If it's something really big, if it's chicken bait, I mean, you'll be up till midnight watching all the videos.
Yeah, I think I've seen like at least 3 chicken videos. I think
people love it. People love watching it. It's just, you got to remember, on YouTube, a lot of people don't realize this, but 70% of my views come from people who are not subscribed to my channel.
Absolutely.
So most of these people probably don't know who I am, and they just stumbled across this. This was served to them, and they watch it. So, we think that while you have to provide your viewers with what they want to see, a large percentage of the views are from people who are not your viewers are not necessarily your subscribers, is one thing that I heard somebody say. And, you have to, and, that's the sad part. The subscribers may or may not be, where you're getting most of your views on content from. So it's a weird thing to juggle, but the bottom line is the views tell you what's getting watched, and the views tell you where the interest is. And, you know, a lot of people confuse, you know, what they want to see in their world with what the majority of the world wants to see. So it's a juggling act for a content creator
See,
to
that's
figure out.
another video I'd like to see somebody do is talk about that. Talk about that on the backside of like, especially with the catfish community, is
Yeah.
the YouTube community.
Yep.
Because a lot of people think that we're just blowing it up on subscribers and stuff. It really is not. It like my channel. I'm still under 200 subscribers on my channel, but if you look at how many people have viewed my channel since I started all this actual do videos, I've got 30 something thousand people that come through my channel.
Yep. Yep.
I should be blowing it out of the water on subscribers, but I'm not. But that's not how people do it. They don't subscribe. They'll watch it, but they won't subscribe.
Yep. I don't know. I've heard some numbers that it takes like 5 visits or 5 views of a video before somebody will subscribe to your channel. And I believe that because I'm the same way. I can tune in and watch a channel and go, okay, that was a cool video. And then you go over and look at their content and you go, oh, YouTube pegged me with the algorithm that I would be interested in this. But you look at the rest of it and it's like, I'm not that interested in it.
Yeah.
So that's where kind of consistency in content is important. If you're doing something on catfish, and then you're doing something on changing oil in cars, and then you're doing something on, writing code for computers, subscribers, and whatever, and he can make a video about all kinds of stuff, and he makes them so good that they work. But that's a whole different world. But yeah, it's a challenge. I think the best person. And that's obvious because of the number of views and subscribers he gets is Luke at Catfish and Carp. He has learned to master just what people want to see and how to deliver it. And, hey, I ain't gonna lie. I get a lot of ideas from stuff that he's done. And, I didn't get it at first. I thought that, like a lot of people, that, well, I'll just go do my thing and, people will like it or they won't. And that's exactly what happens. Most of it being won't. And after a while, you kind of go, well, I want people to watch it. And then you start learning that, well, I need to be doing this. And then it gets complicated. That's when you go, this is complicated. So it's interesting, boring as crap for most people watching this video right now, but if nothing else they can take from it is that YouTube is very good at picking out what you like and what you're interested in by just watching a few videos and then categorizing you into a group of people that watch, a good example, and we did an experiment with this back during the political race. No matter what your political affiliation is, pick the opposite of whatever your affiliation is and watch like 10 videos on that topic. Guess what? You're going to get served those videos because they're not reading your mind. They're reading how you interact with whatever it is that you're watching. And it's, they're good at it. They're really good at it. So, and it's it's a building catalog over a long period of time. So yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah. And it's just like Epic said. He said a lot of them don't have a way to subscribe because they don't have an account. And that's true. And that's true. And that's on us. Because we need to, in our videos, we need to let them know, hey, if you don't have a YouTube account, you don't have a Google account to open a YouTube account, you can't subscribe.
Yep.
But it's simple. It's really easy. You don't have to put out content to make an account to subscribe to us to get your videos keep on going.
Yep. So. And I think a bunch of that is just that there's some accountability on who does what and says what and all that kind of stuff. So they're kind of smart with doing that too. So yeah. Fins and Fine says 87% of my watch hours are from people not subscribed. Yeah, and I think That's true. I think it starts to rein in a little bit tighter as you get bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, it's mine's always been in. It was higher at one point. I think it may have got down in the 60-some% range, but it's always been in that 65-70% range, which is it's interesting. It's interesting how it works out. It's interesting how they figure out who to serve your stuff up to.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, my little girl gets on my channel and she on my YouTube channel and she watches all kinds of stuff. So my little recommended feed is Catfish, Barbie, Minecraft. What is it else? It's those little videos of kind of like tricks, like little homemade tricks or whatever you can hacks, the homemade
Yeah.
hacks or whatever. Those.
Yeah. Yeah.
My little
Yeah.
girl watches that, and so I'm like my whole entire feed of recommended eating. It's every bit of that. So I had to like filter through to figure out where my catfish stuff is.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, there's
But
some
one
stuff
thing,
that I've. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, there's stuff. Everybody just kind of wants to do the same. I'm going to go fishing and I'm going to reel in fish. There's a lot of room to make a lot of traction in the fishing community, especially in the catfishing community. If you will do some stuff outside of the normal, and it's not always fun to do. It's not always going fishing. It's not always sitting on your boat or sitting on the bank and fishing. And when you start to do that, you start to have a little broader appeal and a little wider range, and you start to hit more people, and there's room to do it. But the low hanging fruit is videos that when I don't have anything else going on, that I try to do one fishing. That's going out on a boat and fishing, going on the bank and just fishing. That's kind of the low hanging easy fruit. That's the one that's easiest to do. Anybody can do them pretty much. Some people do them better. Some people they're more polished. But that's the easy one to do. It's when you start doing some stuff that is outside of the box. Like my friend Keith at Fishing and Stuff. He does fishing hacks, but he does them at a different level than just somebody that's going, oh, we're going to do this with bucket. He takes them to a new level. And the same thing can be done with actually fishing and stuff on a boat. And, a lot of these guys, John B. and folks like that, are good at doing that kind of stuff. And it takes a little bit of a creative mind. It takes some getting out of your comfort zone. And, hey, I'm not the best at it. But realizing why something is working or not working is part of, eventually making it work, or just coming to grips with, I've risen to the level of my incompetence. And, that's, I know where my level of incompetence is. I'm reminded of it daily. So that's part of the reality. It's a dream fishing trip anywhere in the world, and what is the fish you're going after? That's a good question. I've thought about that one, and it would be a catfish, just because I think I can make that work. And I'm torn. I would probably, just for the it's a good question. I'm torn on the exoticness of it, of going to South America for a red tail. That'd be kind of cool.
Or whales.
Or whales, or a Mekong. And I don't know how fishable those Mekong catfish are as far as actually going and catching one. If there's goes, over there they eat everything, and the fact that one get longer than 3 feet is a surprise. Every fish gets eat over there. Whales, I don't know how much of a money no object. We're playing fantasy where it's a good question. That's a good question. I'm trying to think of which one I would do. If I knew I could catch a Mekong, I think that would be the cool thing. But
I would love to get a hold of a Goliath grouper.
Yeah, that's doable. They're actually talking about opening up harvest on Goliath grouper because there are so many of them. I saw something the other day that they're actually looking at some kind of limited harvest on those things. That's a very doable one. That's, Florida, it's not going to cost you that much to get there.
No.
Plenty of guides are taking you out for those things. You just have to be just have to have a good back more than anything. So
Yeah.
there you
Oh
go.
yeah. 'Cause I've seen some videos where they eat. It's rough
Yeah.
on them. Real that thing
Yes.
in.
Yeah. I'm talking like 300-pound mono, and as soon as it hooks up, throw the
Mhm.
boat in reverse to back away from the edge of
Yeah.
the pier, the pilings and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of stupid.
If anybody really wants to watch one, it's funny. I watch a lot of Do Perfect videos.
Yep.
They did a Goliath grouper challenge to see which one could bring in the biggest grouper, and
Let me guess, they
they
did it with Black
killed them.
Tip H.
Oh my gosh, it killed them. I mean, it wore them out,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, that's something I want to do, but I don't know if I can handle it. My body can handle something like that.
Yeah. You gotta. It's not as easy as it looks. I'd like to catch a medium sized one just for the heck of it,
Yeah,
first. But amazingly strong fish, that's for sure.
yeah,
What is it? Epic says here some guys with lots of subs get quick thumbs, lots of hits, and lots of comments, even on boring, no nothing vids. And YouTube
oh
promotes the
yeah,
heck out of those snore vids. I'll say this:
yeah,
YouTube promotes the stuff for a reason. And if it's getting a lot of views, it's getting a lot of views for a reason. And it is likely the thumbnail and the description. The single biggest thing that gets people to watch your videos is the thumbnail.
yeah,
Because the crap. If it's just a whole bunch of nothing, people are not going to click on it. I have some great thumbnails.
no,
I have some horrible thumbnails. And the point is that thumbnail has to stop them. Okay, that stops the
yeah,
person. And then they look at the title to see if they want to go a step further. And all this happens in, less than, 2 seconds. It's that quick. But you got all this stuff coming down your screen that you're looking at. So sometimes it's the thumbnail and, the title. Now, to get people to stay with it, watch it, and come back, you got to have the goods once they start watching the video. So
yeah,
sometimes it can be snoozy, boring fishing, but depending on what that topic is, it could appeal to somebody. I don't think, I'll say this, and I've said this before, I don't think anybody accidentally has a good YouTube channel. Somebody may get lucky and get a good video. They may get lucky and get one that gets 4 or 5 million views, but nobody gets lucky and makes a living on YouTube. It is a lot of planning, preparation, and hard work and dedication. You don't just get lucky and do it because it just doesn't work that way. And I firmly believe that, and pretty much anybody that's into that world believes it too. It's tough to figure out what people want consistently and deliver it to them. It's a tough game to play. So
yeah. All right, guys. I think. Oh, I have one more question for you. Actually, two of them. Two more questions. Yep.
2 and 2.
One, yeah. One is like what is your opinion? Yeah. Your opinion on
Shameless plug, as if I don't have enough stuff here.
Yeah. One is, what's your thoughts on the ultimate noodle rigs?
Noodle rigs.
Noodle rigs. He was at Catapalooza.
Out of noodles, as in you talking like the
Pool
are you
noodles.
talking pool
Yeah.
noodles? The ultimate noodle rig.
Yes.
It's using the 1-inch PVC pipe through it.
Yep. Yeah. And
The 1-inch
he was at Catapalooza. He had a booth there, and he had his lines, the pool noodles with the PVC pipe, and he had a trigger, almost like you were setting a hook
Mm-hmm.
with your rod and reel. what is your thoughts on people using that?
No, listen. I think pool noodles or noodling, putting noodles out, jug fishing, as we call it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can have a good time. It's a great way to go out with the family, put a ton of these
okay,
things in the water, and you can ride around and chill and everything else. And they're floating out there in the water, and the kids can come pick them up and get excited. It's it is what it is. It's for me, it ain't that much fun because you got to keep up with all that stuff. But
oh yeah,
it's yeah.
yeah. And now I forgot what the other one was. I'll think of it in a minute. I'll send it to you. I forgot what my second one's going to be. But everybody, appreciate you all coming in. We've lost some viewers because Muskrat and some other lives are going on. I think Chunky's on, Muskrat's on. I think my brother's still on. So if anybody's got any last minute questions, hit it out. If not,
It's
we'll.
been fun, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I do too. I appreciate you. Definitely appreciate you, Gator, from coming on here. Definitely, that's it's always been a pleasure talking with you and your shows and everything else. So it's like
Awesome, awesome, man.
Epic always says I'm a sponge.
And get James on here. I'm gonna tune in for James here next week.
I will get him on here. But yeah, Epic calls me a sponge when it comes to knowledge.
Well, that's good, man. We all got to be a sponge. Never get too much water in our sponge. Keep absorbing.
Yeah. But all right, stick around just for a little bit, Dieter. We're going
All right,
to
sounds
see
good.
everybody out. Patriot said he will be here. All right, we will. We'll talk. Yep. Epic. Yeah, I'm a sponge. All right, appreciate y'all coming in. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely check out next week. We have Avid Fisherman on next week. And then the week after next, we have the Caterman from the Adventures with the Caterman. He will be on the week after that, so that's going to be interesting talking to him and seeing what he uses up there in the DC area. So we'll check everybody else later. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, the bell on, and we got some more shows coming out. Should have a video dropping with some creek fishing coming up. So definitely look out for that. So see you all later. Peace.